Anne Bonny, fierce, fearless, and unforgettable. But the true story of the woman called the Queen of Pirates is wilder and more daring than most could imagine. In this animated tale, we'll bring her legendary journey to life, revealing the secrets that history left behind. Chapter 1: The Untamed Beginnings. Anne Bonny's story begins far from the roaring seas she would one day rule. She was born around 1700 in Ireland, the illegitimate child of a wealthy lawyer named William Cormac and his servant, Mary Brennan. To avoid scandal, William moved his small family to the American colonies, settling in Charleston, South Carolina. There, he rebuilt his fortune through a successful plantation and merchant business. Little Anne grew up surrounded by luxury, but her fiery spirit would not be tamed by wealth or society's rules. As a child, Anne showed a fierce independence that startled those around her. She preferred the outdoors to the polished manners of Charleston's elite, and her temper became infamous. It is said that she once attacked a servant girl with a knife, leaving her with a scar as a lasting reminder of Anne's wrath. Yet she was also intelligent, quick-witted, and determined. She longed for excitement and adventure beyond the sleepy plantations and high society parties of her father's world. Despite her father's attempts to mold her into a proper lady, Anne rebelled against the expectations placed upon her. She found herself drawn to the rough, dangerous characters who drifted through the bustling port of Charleston. Merchants, sailors, and privateers filled her ears with tales of the Caribbean's wild freedom and fortunes to be made by those daring enough to seize them. By the time she reached her late teens, Anne's rebellious nature had grown too strong to be contained. She met and married a small-time sailor named James Bonny, much to her father's disapproval. It wasn't love that drew Anne to James. It was the promise of escape, and escape she did. The pair traveled to New Providence, modern-day Nassau, Bahamas, a lawless pirate haven where James hoped to earn money by informing on pirates to the governor. Anne's disappointment in her husband only deepened as she watched him bow and scrape for scraps of favor. But the Caribbean's thriving underworld of pirates and freebooters thrilled her. It was in Nassau that Anne crossed paths with Calico Jack Rackham, a cunning and charismatic pirate captain. Drawn to each other's daring spirits, they quickly became inseparable. Anne's decision to leave her husband and join Calico Jack's crew was reckless and dangerous, but it was also the first step in a journey that would make her legend. Chapter 2: Escape to the Caribbean. The sun beat down fiercely on the bustling port of New Providence, a notorious haven for pirates in the early 1700s. The island teemed with cutthroats, thieves, and fortune-seekers, all chasing dreams of wealth and freedom. For Anne Bonny, it was a paradise where society's rules meant nothing. Here, her boldness and fiery temper were seen as strengths, not flaws. Her marriage to James Bonny had grown cold, his cowardice and loyalty to the British governor leaving her restless and resentful. Anne had become a familiar face in Nassau's rowdy taverns, her bright red hair and fierce green eyes catching the attention of many. She thrived in the company of sailors and scoundrels, soaking in their tales of treasure and adventure. But it was the arrival of a charming pirate captain named Calico Jack Rackham that truly changed everything. His sharp wit and confidence matched her own, and it didn't take long for the two to grow inseparable. James Bonny's betrayal of pirates to the governor had made him a loathed figure in Nassau, but Anne's betrayal of James was personal. She abandoned her husband without a second thought, choosing instead to sail away with Calico Jack and his crew. But being a woman on a pirate ship was no easy feat. To avoid suspicion from other crews and enemy ships, Anne often disguised herself as a man, a practice she embraced with enthusiasm. Her quick temper and fierce loyalty earned her respect among the crew. Anne's new life was wild and dangerous. The crew of the Revenge prowled the Caribbean Sea, raiding merchant vessels and slipping away before the British Navy could catch them. Her skill with a blade grew sharper with every skirmish, her voice bolder with every command. For Anne, the freedom of the sea was worth every risk. But as Anne's reputation grew, so did the danger. Her enemies multiplied, including the powerful forces of the British Navy and bounty hunters eager to see her hanged. The life she had chosen was filled with bloodshed and betrayal, but Anne thrived on the excitement. With Calico Jack by her side, she felt unstoppable. The Caribbean had become her playground, and she intended to conquer it. Chapter 3. The Rise of a Pirate Queen. Anne Bonny's transformation from restless young woman to fearsome pirate was swift and unstoppable. Aboard the Revenge, she thrived under the Caribbean sun, her skills sharpened by every raid and battle. As Calico Jack Rackham's closest ally, she commanded respect among the crew, proving herself with courage and cunning. Tales of her fiery temper and fearless spirit spread across the Caribbean, sparking rumors that she was no ordinary pirate, but a force to be reckoned with. Her bond with Calico Jack was undeniable, but Anne's loyalty to him was matched only by her desire for freedom. They plundered merchant ships with ruthless efficiency, outwitting British patrols and slipping away with gold and goods. Anne often disguised herself as a man during these attacks, blending in with the crew and charging into combat without hesitation. Those who doubted her skill quickly learned otherwise. Her blade was swift, her aim steady, and her resolve unbreakable. Anne's reputation continued to grow, but it was her unexpected friendship with Mary Read that truly cemented her place among the legends. Mary, another woman disguised as a man, had joined the crew under the name Mark Red. The two women quickly recognized each other's true identities, and their shared secret forged a bond of trust and admiration. But life as a pirate was not without peril. As their victories mounted, so did the number of enemies determined to see them brought to justice. The British Navy intensified their pursuit of Calico Jack's crew, frustrated by their repeated escapes and growing notoriety. For Anne, the thrill of the chase was exhilarating, but she knew that danger loomed ever closer. Despite the mounting pressure, Anne refused to abandon her life of freedom. Her boldness only grew stronger, her defiance burning brighter with every close call. She was no longer the restless girl from Charleston or the frustrated wife of James Bonny. She was Anne Bonny, a pirate queen whose name struck fear and fascination throughout the Caribbean. And as long as there were ships to plunder and seas to conquer, she had no intention of stopping. Chapter 4. Capture and Trial. Anne Bonny's life of freedom and fury was bound to catch up with her. By 1720, the Revenge had made too many enemies, its daring raids and narrow escapes earning the fury of British authorities. Calico Jack, Anne, and Mary Read continued their rampage across the Caribbean. But the crown was relentless. A bounty had been placed on their heads, and their luck was running out. On a stormy night in October 1720, everything came crashing down. While anchored off the coast of Jamaica, the crew of the Revenge celebrated another successful raid. Their guard was down, their senses dulled by rum and revelry. Suddenly, sails appeared on the dark horizon. A British sloop commanded by pirate hunter Captain Jonathan Barnett bore down upon them, ready to strike. The alarm was raised too late. Anne and Mary fought with all their might. While the rest of the drunken crew hid below deck or surrendered in panic, the two women stood their ground. They fired muskets, swung cutlasses, and cursed the men for their cowardice. Despite their ferocity, they were overwhelmed. The Revenge was seized, and Anne, Mary, and Calico Jack were taken into custody, dragged ashore in chains. Their capture sent shockwaves through the Caribbean. The infamous pirates were brought to trial in Spanish Town, Jamaica, facing charges of piracy and terror upon the seas. Anne Bonny's name echoed throughout the courtroom, spoken with both dread and admiration. The trial was swift and unforgiving. On November 28, 1720, the verdict was delivered. Guilty. Death by hanging was the fate that awaited them. Calico Jack was executed without delay. His body hung as a grim warning to others who dared defy the crown. But when it came to Anne and Mary, a twist of fate intervened. Both women were found to be pregnant and pleaded for mercy, invoking a rare law that granted reprieve until after childbirth. For months, Anne sat alone in a cold, dark cell, her once fiery spirit dampened by despair. She awaited the day of her own execution, tormented by thoughts of her lost freedom. News eventually reached her that Mary Read had died of fever in prison, her final moments spent in the same bleak confinement. Chapter 5. The Mysterious Fate. Anne Bonny's story didn't end with her trial. After being sentenced to hang, her unexpected pregnancy bought her time. Locked away in a cramped, damp cell in Spanish Town, Jamaica, Anne could only wait and wonder what her future held. The grim faces of guards, the iron bars, and the cold stone walls were a far cry from the wild freedom she once enjoyed at sea. But Anne Bonny's fate took a sudden and mysterious turn. One evening, as the guards made their rounds, they discovered her cell empty. No one saw her leave. No clues were left behind. The woman who had faced death with eyes of steel had vanished into thin air. Speculation ran wild throughout the Caribbean. Some believed she had bribed her way to freedom, aided by her father's fortune. Others whispered of daring escape plans, orchestrated by loyal friends or sympathizers of her cause. Rumors claimed she had fled to America, changing her name and starting a new life far from the blood and salt of piracy. Perhaps she found refuge among old friends or carved out a quiet existence in the backwoods of South Carolina, her homeland. Yet the mystery of Anne Bonny's final reckoning only deepened with time. Despite her disappearance, Anne's legend only grew. Stories of her exploits continued to be told in taverns and ports, where sailors spoke of her courage, cunning, and refusal to conform. Even without knowing her true fate, people admired the woman who had dared to live her own way, regardless of the cost. Did Anne Bonny find redemption or simply another adventure beyond the reach of the law? No one knows for sure. All that remains is the legend of a woman who defied her time and the expectations placed upon her, leaving a trail of mystery in her wake. The final reckoning of Anne Bonny, it seems, was hers to write, and perhaps she succeeded in keeping her true ending forever hidden from history. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.